every single Natasha Denona What is up, guys? My name is Ronnie, and today I will be comparing every Natasha Denona midi palette to the new tan palette and talking way too much. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, keep on watching. All right, do I really have every Natasha Denona midi palette? No, I don't think so. I'm honestly too scared to check, but I do have a lot, and I think that I have enough to comprehensively put together, is this palette duped by other Natasha Denona midi palettes? All right, so here she is. First impression when I got her, she's more neutral or cool toned than I thought that she was gonna be. And I have no idea why I thought that, because in all of the promo photos, it definitely is a neutral, cool toned palette. However, this is the stack of palettes that I compared her to. I have the bronze palette in here because I did swipe some shades, but nothing really stuck. But it's here and in the thumbnail for dramatic effect. Are you guys able to see Johnny Cage? I hope so. All right, so for the comparison swatches, I started out with Sandal. I compared that to Teak from the Natasha Denona Golden palette. Sandal is a cream matte, but otherwise they're pretty similar. Next up is Burnt. I compared that to the shade Nubia from the Natasha Denona Golden palette, which, I mean, Nubia is more gold. What a shocker. Next up is Brook, which I compared to Outer Eyelid 1 from the Natasha Denona Glam palette. Brook is more glittery. Next up is Villa. I compared that to Homie from the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. Villa is a more traditional shimmer shadow, but the tones are still there. Next up is Kissed, which I compared to the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. Whisper is a tad darker. I honestly think that I should have switched the Kissed and Villa comparisons, because once they were actually like on my arm, I think that it's just a much more valid comparison if we flip those two around. Next up is Dip, which I compared to Log from the Gold palette. Dip is a creamy matte and Log is a little bit more brown, but once they're blended out, they look exactly the same. Next up is Spritz, which I compared to Aurum from the Gold palette. Spritz is kind of like a glitter. It's definitely more shimmery, and it definitely is more of like a true gold, almost green gold shade. And Aurum is a traditional, gold. However, they both kind of have a neutral tone. This was definitely the hardest shade to find a one-for-one comparison for. Next up is Daydream, which I compared to Outer Eyelid 2 from the Glam palette. Daydream is just a little bit more cool toned. Next up is Serene, which I compared to Muse from the I Need a Nude palette. They have very similar tones for the base tone. However, Serene has more gold reflect and Muse has a silver reflect. And I messed up my order, so here's Lazy. But Lazy I compared to Mellow from the I Need a Warm palette. Lazy is more neutral. Next up is Soft Spot, which I compared to Soft Spot from the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. I'm not surprised that there's a repeat shade that was advertised. Next up is Celeste, which I compared to the shade Sheen from the Glam palette. Celeste is more of a neutral shade. Next up is Paddle, which I compared to the shade Flesh from the Gold palette. Flesh is a little bit more gold. Again, shocker. Next up is Toasted, which I compared to the shade Ella from the I Need a Nude palette. If you squint, Ella is a little bit more cool toned. Next up is Glide, which I compared to the shade Pep from the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. Glide is a cream matte and Pep is just a little bit more dark. All right, so I really only was able to find similar shades in this palette across 4 other Natasha Denona palettes. Here's kind of the breakdown of that. I got a comparison for 5 out of the 15 shades from the Gold palette, 4 out of the 15 shades from the I Need a Warm palette, 3 out of the 15 shades each from both I Need a Nude and the Glam palette. So if you have those 4 palettes already, I would say you're good, unless some of the shades that look a little different really stand out to you. And then especially if you have the Gold palette. If you have the Gold palette and another neutral palette, I'm sure you're fine. However, if you want to see how I achieved this wonderful eye look, keep on watching. Hello. All right, let's get this palette comparison under control. Let's get it started. Here she is. I need to take that off. Let's see if you can hear this ASMR. Nice. Here she is in all of her neutral glory. I'm gonna do my best to avoid using soft spots since that's just a straight up 1-for-1. But it also is a really good neutral shade for me, so we'll see. I am doing a balancing act of like 5 Natasha Denona palettes and my iPad on my lap, so let's see how this goes. A little look behind the curtain. If I'm doing a palette comparison, I have my iPad down here. That way I can remember which shades I put with which. So for my outer corner shade, I'm gonna take a little bit into Sandal. Sandal is a little bit, it's one of those creamy mattes. It also looks like it has some like metallic flakes in it. So let's see. I'm just putting that right on my outer corner. That is a nice like camel brown, kind of a yellow tone brown. Just putting that really sloppily. I'm gonna give it a chance to dry down before I blend it out. That way, hopefully it's a little bit easier to blend. On this side, I'm taking Teak from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is just a straight powder shade. It looks like it's a little bit darker or more pigmented. Maybe that's because it's powder. I feel like the tones are pretty much the same. Let me try and build up Sandal more on this side. The one thing that I feel kind of like meh about the Natasha Denona cream shades is like I already have a pretty big divot in it for just this one use. I guess they're easy to pan and that's fun, but if you're looking for like longevity, I would say they're not the best. All right, I'm gonna blend this out with Paddle, just stamping that into the crease, a little bit up into my orbital bone because I did go a little high. But it is blending out pretty nicely. But it is losing a bit of the opacity right here. I might have to go in with some of Dip. All right, that is that. All right, and what I'm comparing palette to is Flesh, also from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. It definitely is a little bit more warm and yellow toned. This is also just their straight powder formula, no cream. And I'm just stamping it, bouncing it all over my eyelid. Now these two are blended out. I personally don't see much of a difference. I am gonna deepen this side with Dip, which funnily enough is another cream shade. Just throwing that on the outer corner and then going in again with Paddle on this side. I'm gonna blend it out while it's still a little wet. All right, and I compared Dip to Log, which is also from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I promise I'm trying to not just use the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I'm trying to use, you know, the other 5 palettes I primarily compared shades to. But I mean, if this just ends up being Natasha Denona Gold, then it just ends up being Natasha Denona Gold. Now Log is also just, Log is also just a powder. I don't think the Gold palette has any of those cream shades. And then once again, going back in with Flesh, just to deepen her up. Here are the mattes down. I'm not seeing all that much of a difference. Maybe this side is a little darker. Maybe this side is a little darker. So now we're moving on to shimmer. And I'll be honest, I do think that this is where we're gonna see the most differences, just because you don't exactly blend out a shimmer. I tend to use 2, maybe 3 shimmers. I'll kind of do like an outer one to blend the dark matte into the crease shade, a medium one in the crease, and then another light one in the inner corner. So we'll see. This could completely change the look. All right, I'm gonna start by taking a little bit of Burnt from the Natasha Denona Tan palette. Just putting that right there. It's more of a champagne, kind of a medium toned champagne-ish. Funnily enough, I think this is a shade that I found a dupe of in the Gold palette. This is a testament to how I truly just kind of go in blind with these videos. Like obviously I'll compare the shades ahead of time, that way I know what I'm gonna put on my eyes, but what I actually put on my eyes, it's a mystery. It's just the vibes. And I will say this is taking a little bit to build up. However, that is probably my fault. I know that her shimmers are meant to be used with the finger. However, I will not subject myself to putting things on my hands. The shade that I felt was closest to this is Nubia, which is from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. So here we go. It is a little bit more golden. Think like Champagne Pop, Prosecco Pop, Becca highlighters. But I mean, it's the golden palette, so I can't be too mad. I also think this one is a little bit more glittery. This is more foiled. This is more of a shine to it. Like, it is also foiled, but there's something else in it. Like visible, not glitter flakes, but you know, it's just, there's little speckles of something else that I see. I am gonna put down another shimmer just to kind of marry these two. So I'm gonna go in with Daydream, which is just a cool toned brown. I would say it's more of like a dark taupe. Now you may think I'm gonna go with the Natasha Denona Gold palette. Haha, I'm not. This is the Natasha Denona Glam palette, and I hate the way that these shades are named because it's like center eyelid, outer eyelid, inner corner, smoke, blend, but there's like 3 different outer eyelid shades. Like 2 different brow bone shades. No thanks. Give your shades a name, please. I compared it to what I call outer eyelid 2 because it's like the second one chronologically named outer eyelid. And this is definitely more warm. Okay, you can definitely see a bit of a difference. Okay, now for this little inner corner moment. Now on the tan side, I'm going in with Villa. This is definitely more of a taupe, more of just a light neutral shade. I'm just putting that on my inner corner. I'm also putting it on my inner corner and on my brow bone on this side. I would definitely describe this as like a traditional shimmer shade. It isn't one of the foiled ones. It's just like, here's a shimmer shade. And for this shade, I compared it to Homie from I Need a Warm. I would definitely say that this is much more champagne, funnily enough. This is definitely a champagne traditional shimmer shade. Just for fun, I'm gonna put a little push on this side. On this side, it's a warm champagne shimmer that I must have just missed. Let's see how that does. All right, this side is still pulling a little bit more cool. So I will say that, yeah, that central shimmer shade really made a difference over here, but let me finish up my face, lips, lashes, and then I'll be right back. I'm back, and this is the final look. Now, I do see a little bit of a difference, but I don't know if that's just because I'm up close and personal in the mirror. Let me know what you think. I don't have my glasses on, so it's kind of hard. I just kind of look like a blob right now. I think they look pretty similar, in all honesty. If you have every other Natasha Denona midi palette, I don't think you need this one. Unless this, you know, this particular champagne shimmer really just screams to you. But it still is a good palette. It still has good quality. I just wanted to have some fun, see what was similar, what wasn't similar. This was fun. I really, really like this. I don't know if I've done, aside from my Adept Cosmetics comparisons that I did years ago, I don't know if I've done just one brand trying to see if what's a new palette is actually new. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you like this eye look. And yeah, I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!